Welcome to the Piston Fanatic. I'm your host, Dave Dalton. Well, tonight the Pistons dropped a heartbreaker to the Rockets, but in fact, it actually puts us in a great position for the lottery and going forward. So sometimes when you lose, you win, and that's a line from White Men Can't Jump. But this loss guarantees that we can get no worse than the fifth pick in the upcoming draft. So it doesn't quite guarantee that we'll have the worst record, but pretty close. So now the Rockets have 3 more wins than we do, and we only have 5 games left, and the Rockets have only 4 games left. So it's a pretty sure thing. And that I've been stressed out all season since Cade went down, and we were faced with the realization that we weren't going to have as good a year as we wanted to, and then there were more injuries, and then it was apparent that our best, hope would be to get a chance at Victor Wembanyama or Scoot Henderson or Brandon Miller. And so it appears we put ourselves in a great position. And so now if things finish like they are right now, the Pistons can get no worse than the 5th pick, the Rockets can get no worse than the 6th pick, and the Spurs can get no worse than the 7th pick. If we the lottery is for the top 4 picks. And so if any of us get the top 4 picks, then obviously that's what we would get. But if we don't happen to get the lucky ping pong balls, then we would fall no worse than the 5th. So the 5th pick, you have to believe most of the time it's going to be a better pick than the 6th pick. So that is a great thing. So another big factor in this that I hear people talk about is this will by having the worst record, we would get the first pick in the 2nd round. So it's almost like, getting a late first round pick. But not only do we get that opportunity to draft a real good player, possibly with that pick, but I think it also gives us a fantastic trade chip. So there are a lot of teams that are looking for shooting, for example, that I got to believe would love Bogey and or Burks. And so we could put those guys in a trade and include that first pick in the 2nd round. And 2nd round picks are cool for teams. They like them because they're not guaranteed contracts, plus they make a lot less. And so especially a good team, like there are a lot of teams that are fighting currently to get in the playoffs. Some of them are going to miss out, or some of them are going to get eliminated, and they're going to want to improve. And some of them are going to need shooting. And Burks and Bojan are great shooters. But if we can throw in that pick, so we've been handcuffed a little bit. We made a trade to get Isaiah Stewart. That was the Rockets' pick. And so we cannot trade our pick that we traded to the Rockets. It's protected this year, 1 through 18, and it's protected in the next 3 or 4 years. So we can't make a trade. We can't use any of our first round picks as trade chips, but we can use that first pick in the 2nd round as a trade chip with those players, and that would make it more enticing for another team. And I think there are a bunch of teams that would love to have one of our shooters. And Dallas, for example, their season has been disappointing. They don't have a lot of options, but they're currently would be finished with the 11th pick, but their pick is protected 1 through 10. So we could, if they fall one spot, we could trade Bogey to them, and they certainly need shooting, and get maybe the 10th pick, and that would be fantastic. And there's other teams. Memphis has the 26th pick. The way the standings set now, obviously the standings are going to change. Sacramento has the 24th pick. Brooklyn 21st pick. Warriors 18th pick. The Heat have the 18th pick also, and Atlanta would have the 15th pick if things ended the way they are today. Toronto would have the 14th pick. Toronto's going to be losing some players, and they're not going to be rebuilding. So I think they certainly need shooting. Their half-court offense isn't that good. But it's just, I think there's going to be opportunities at the end of the season before the draft to swing another trade. And if Troy sees a player that he feels like could really help us in the late first round, he might be able to swing a trade for one of those guys. But so anyway, I've been wanting the Pistons to play well. I've been wanting our young players to improve. And that has happened. And we've had so many close games that have been nail biters and right down to the end where our young players have shown great signs of improvement and great hope for the future. Um, but it's nice. It's great when we can play well and still lose, because then that put us in this position where we get no worse than the fifth pick and first pick in the second round, and so it's just the best odds of getting one of the top four picks. So next, I'd like to talk about Jalen Duren, and for the life of me, there are things I can't understand. And one of his Jalen Duren played only 19 minutes, and not tonight, but he played only 19 minutes the game before this against Oklahoma City. And 19 minutes, and he was amazing. And he was 4 for 4 from the field, and had a bunch of rebounds, and he just didn't get to play. It just makes no sense to me. He had 6 offensive rebounds, and 6 rebounds total, and 4 offensive rebounds in only 19 minutes. And he made some great passes, and so I don't get it. And he wasn't in foul trouble, and he has been just amazing all year. But he's been playing only 20 minutes or less. At the beginning of the year, I wanted him to start. You can listen to my podcast before the season started, and I said start him and play him. Throughout the year, I've been saying play him 30 minutes. And now he's still not playing 30 minutes. He's not injured. If he's injured, he shouldn't be playing. He played 27 minutes a few games ago. But I don't get what Dwayne Casey thinks. I don't, and I still don't see why tonight. Once again, we have not seen Wiseman and Duren play together. They played 9 minutes total, and that was a bunch of games ago. And what do we have to lose? That's my refrain over and over again. But he is just amazing, and I think he's going to be a great passer, but he needs to develop. He's 19, and I know I hear people talk about, oh yeah, we need to find out about Wiseman, and we do. Wiseman needs to play. He needs to develop. We need to find out as much as we can going into the summer what he's capable of. Wiseman is under contract for next year with us. We can sign him for an extension if we want to, but we can wait till the end of the year next year, and he'll be a restricted free agent, so we still will have control of his contract if whatever we choose. But we need to find out what they can do together. And so also, just to give Bagley and Burke, so against Oklahoma City, they were a combined 14 for 18. They made 14 out of 18 shots, but yet they didn't play. He can't play Duren and Wiseman together, and they're still not playing that. Duren played 19 minutes, and Bagley played only 23 minutes, and Wiseman, not sure how many minutes he played, but it was, they're just not playing that many minutes. They all should get to play 30 minutes. It's not that hard. It's not rocket science to get each one of those guys 30 minutes, but to do that, Duren and Wiseman would have to play together, and so I don't know why. I keep hoping that one of the beat writers will ask Dwayne Casey why, but I don't know if they don't want to offend Dwayne Casey. I just would like to know why they're not. Some things, and I think Duren, his passing can be great. Alfred Şengün, that plays for the Rockets, he is an amazing passer. He's averaging 3.8 assists, and I think that Duren has the potential in a couple years to be that good of a passer. And so we'll see what happens if he, and I don't know why he doesn't start, why they don't both start. And for sure, even if you don't want to start Duren, play him 30 minutes. It can happen. You could play those 3 guys at the 4 and the 5 and play each one of them 32 minutes if you wanted. So if Dwayne Casey just needs to do the math and see what needs to happen. But this is, 16 wins is the tied for the lowest number of wins in Piston history. I talked about that a few podcasts ago. But so if we don't win another game, we'll tie for the worst record. But it doesn't matter. We got, I am so excited about next year. I'm a Piston fan, so if you're a Piston fan, why do you want to lose? I've explained out the reasons why, and I wouldn't even be doing this podcast if I wasn't so excited about our potential and the future of this team. So Anyway, the Rockets. We played the Rockets tonight, and again, it was a 3-point game with 1 minute left, and we were right in the game. We made a lot of great plays, especially man, Ivy passed the ball, some amazing passes, not just good passes. They were beautiful to watch, and it is just so exciting to see his growth and see how good he can has developed as a passer. He also shot okay, not great, but it just is amazing. And I don't know why he's shooting the three well enough, but people still are going under screens on him. So he's just letting it fly. He didn't shoot the three great tonight, but he has been shooting it much much better. Story of the game tonight though was the Rockets were 34 for 45 on free throws, and they outshot the Pistons by Pistons were only 18 for 27. So I felt like some of the Rockets calls they got were cheap, even though I did want the Rockets to win the game. But Jalen Green, who had a really great game, he scored 32, and Kevin Porter Jr. Detroit had Kevin Porter Sr. played for the Pistons years ago, and he was incredible. But Jalen Green was 10 for 16, so he missed 6 free throws. Oh, the Rockets have left. The Rockets play the Lakers at home and the Nuggets at home. I think that Jokic is sitting out some games. I think he does have a minor injury, so they're not risking that. Then they finish here at the Hornets, and the Hornets aren't that good. They've been winning some games lately, and at the Wizards. And so it remains to be seen if the Wizards are still in the hunt or if maybe they will sit out some of their players. I almost got to apologize. When we played the Rockets the only other time this year, they sat out Kevin Porter Jr. and Jalen Green and Şengün. And so I felt like, oh, they're tanking. And maybe they were, maybe they weren't. But they played all their players tonight. So they played all their good young players. And we had like 7 guys sitting out, and we still almost beat them. So, I think that's a good sign for us. And the Spurs ended up winning some games, even though they set out 5 of their best young players against us, and we still, lost to them. But tonight the score was 121 to 115. Like I said, it was right down to the wire, and the Pistons, the Rockets made some big shots, and whatever happened. But Bagley had 34 points, not 34 points. He had played 34 minutes, scored 21 points. He was really efficient, 8 for 13, 5 for 6 from the line. Disappointingly, though, he only had 3 rebounds, so he needs to do certainly better than that. But like I said before, Bagley, so, even if Bagley doesn't shoot the 3, and he's shown some signs of maybe not being able to, potential to knock him down. But if he catches the ball at the 3-point line, even if they sag off him, he just takes it right to him. He just takes it at him one way. If they jump over on the ball, he spins the other way, or he has just so many ways to get to the basket. But it really doesn't matter if he catches the ball and people back off him, because he can still get to the basket. And he has, just like I said, the array of shots, and that left-handed jump hook is really hard to stop. Sad for Wiseman. It's his birthday today. He just turned 22. Scored only 8 points, 4 for 10. Disappointing. He made some good, nice jump hooks. He had 4 rebounds, 3 block shots, and 1 goaltending. That I still like the fact that he really got up and was going after shots. But that's, he has to be smarter. Just like Cade, in his past, he's frustrated me with, getting in foul trouble. So the thing that's bad is once you know that you have, 2 fouls in the first half, you can't make another one. You have to let some things go. Or if you have 5 fouls, the next one you're going to be out, and he still has to hopefully learn from that. But Ivy had 18 points, 34, his 34th game in a row where he has scored in double figures, which moves him past Dave Bing for the most consecutive 10 double-figure games in Piston history. So that was really cool. Duren had 11 points, 4 for 7 from the field, only 3 for 8 from the line. I still am going to tell you, I believe in his shot. His form is not that bad, not that off, and he's shown that he's gotten better, but he was not good tonight. But 10 rebounds in 24 minutes, and he got 5 offensive. And so he is got the third most offensive rebounds by a teenager in NBA history, just behind Dwight Howard and the great Moses Malone. So that's another thing that we've got to see. But I still, like I said earlier in the podcast, Duren doesn't get to play enough. So I made a podcast. My last one was about the Pistons needing to move on from Dwayne Casey. I did have some people that, one guy that criticized me for saying that I was discriminating against him because he was old. Well, he's 66. I'm 67. So, and I still coach, but I'm not against old people. So, and he said, well, you don't even have any suggestions for coaches. Well, 3 months ago, I had a podcast where I talked about the next coach of the Detroit Pistons, and I mentioned Johnny Bryant, who's the associate head coach of the Knicks, and he's a young coach that's showing lots of potential, great at player development, and he's got to be a coach under Quinn Snyder, and a great offensive mind, and he's got to coach. He's the lead assistant for Tom Thibodeau with the Knicks, and Thibodeau is one of the greatest defensive coaches in the league. So they would be good. Becky Hammon, I mentioned that she's was successful with the Spurs. All of Pop's assistants that have gotten NBA jobs have been great. So that doesn't guarantee anything, but Becky Hammon is really respected. She won the I think the G League championship. She won the Summer League championship when she was the head coach of the Summer League team, and she coached her first year in the WNBA coaching. She led her team to the WNBA championship. So I think she's a great coach. I had mentioned Quinn Snyder, but he's already got the job in Atlanta, and Nate Oates, who's at Alabama, but I am not sure. I don't think he'll get the job. I'd just like to bring up Charles Lee. He's the associate head coach for the Milwaukee Bucks, and they're very successful. He's been under Mike Budenholzer, who's an outstanding coach, for 8 seasons. One of those seasons was when Budenholzer was with the Hawks, and he was a finalist for the Wizards job, and he was seriously considered this year for the Hawks job. He's considered to be great at player development. The players really buy into him and really love him. Not that that is important. It's not necessary that the players love you as much as they know you care about them. But anyway, Charles Lee, 38 years old, I think he would be another great coach to step in next year and to lead our team. Well, we're just going to talk about that 107-106 loss to OKC. And again, Duren, 19 minutes, 10 points, 4 for 4, 6 rebounds, 4 offensive. And he didn't get the ball. We dominated them inside in the first half, and then we just went away from it in the second half. I don't know why he had Pokacheski. He's like 6'11" and like 160. He's just a stick. And he was trying to guard Duren, and Duren kept posting up, and we didn't get him the ball. Finally, we got him the ball once, and he just took it right down his throat and just dunked on him. So anyway, I just want him to play more. I just want him to play 30 minutes or close to 30 minutes if he's not in foul trouble. Ivy had a really nice game, 24 points in 31 minutes, and he was 8 for 18, but he was 5 for 8 on threes. And again, his shot looks so much better. And he had 9 assists, which is great. Like I said, tonight he had 9 assists also, and he's had games with 12 and 13 assists. But tonight, especially against Houston, man, he drives in there like 100 miles an hour, and he's just a blur. And then all of a sudden, he's going to the basket, and all of a sudden, the ball is out of his hands, and it's into Duren's hands or somebody's in there. It's a dunk, and it's just really impressive. Killian had 11 points, 5 for 14 in 32 minutes, and 1 for 4 on threes. He did have 6 rebounds and 5 assists, but again, it's just not. He just needs to get over the hump, and there's not really enough games, so he's going to go into next year with still the doubts that it was always about his shot, and his shot still isn't consistent enough for winning basketball. Against OKC, Livers was 0 for 3, had 0 points, 21 minutes, And again, we need him to be able to contribute. But we had 8 players play in this game. And guess who played the fewest minutes? Jalen Duren. We had these guys that we signed, to 10-day contracts, and we picked up off waivers, and they played. Hampton played 24 minutes, and Kojo played 33 minutes, and Amarui played 28 minutes. So they all played more than Jalen Duren, who was having an awesome game. So anyway, like I said, I'm relieved. I used to have to worry and watch every game. Every time I'd see the scores, I'd follow the end of the game, or I'd watch it on TV, watch the end of the games on League Pass. I'd watch Houston and the Spurs and the Hornets, and just hope that they win. And I got so stressed out they would be way ahead, and then in the last minute, and then they would lose the game somehow. So, but anyway, things have worked out. I know you might not agree with me, and I understand why you might not, but I do think this is going to be a really great thing for our team going forward to get, be in the best draft position possible. But if you're listening on Spotify, please leave a 5-star review. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe. It really helps me if you subscribe. Just click it. It's free. You don't get charged a penny, and leave a thumbs up. But thank you for listening. Thank you very, very much. And do something nice for somebody today, and always try to do something nice. It makes a difference in their lives and in the world. And have a good day, and go Pistons.